Right now, somewhere on Earth, another gun is about to fire. Most of us will never hear it, but every single shot has a story that began more than 1,200 years ago. Today, there are over 1 billion firearms across our planet, yet almost none of us ever stop to ask one simple question. Where did the very first gun come from? The answer is stranger than fiction. Because the people who changed history forever weren't soldiers or blacksmiths. They were scientists searching for the secret to eternal life. Imagine waking up in ancient China. You're an imperial alchemist, trusted by the emperor himself. Your mission is impossible: discover a medicine that lets humans live forever. Day after day, you grind mysterious ingredients together. Sulfur charcoal and a strange white crystal called saltpeter. Just another experiment, or so you think. Then everything changes. A single spark. An enormous explosion. Fire races through your workshop. Smoke fills the room. You believe you've failed, but history has other plans. Without realizing it, you've created gunpowder, a discovery so powerful that it will influence wars, kingdoms, and civilizations for the next 1,000 years. The strange part is nobody thinks about building weapons. The mysterious powder is simply called fire medicine, because everyone still believes it's part of the search for immortality. For years, fire medicine brings joy instead of destruction. Brilliant fireworks light up the night sky. Festivals become brighter. Families gather to celebrate beneath colorful explosions. But every invention eventually finds a different purpose. Before long, military commanders begin wondering, what if this powerful powder could be used in battle? Chinese soldiers attach bamboo tubes filled with gunpowder onto long wooden spears. The world's first fire lance is born. A weapon unlike anything seen before. Picture yourself standing on a city wall. Enemy soldiers are climbing toward you. You lower the spear, light the fuse, and prepare for something terrifying. A massive stream of fire erupts from the bamboo tube like a dragon breathing flames. For a few unforgettable seconds, you're holding the power of fire itself. Soon, soldiers begin adding broken pottery, stones, and iron fragments inside the bamboo. They hope the extra pieces will make the weapon even more dangerous. After battle, they discover an unexpected truth. The flames aren't causing the most damage. The flying fragments are, and without knowing it, humanity has just taken its first step toward the modern bullet. There was just one problem. Bamboo wasn't built to handle that much pressure. Add too much gunpowder, and the weapon exploded before the projectile ever left the tube. Instead of giving up, Chinese craftsmen searched for something stronger. Their answer was bronze, a metal tough enough to contain the explosion. The moment bamboo became bronze, everything changed. The fire lance was no longer just a flamethrower. It had become the world's first true gun. It looked incredibly simple, just a short metal tube with a tiny fuse hole. No trigger, no sights, no stock, but every modern firearm can trace its roots back to this humble invention. History rarely changes overnight. Every great invention begins with one small improvement, and this tiny bronze tube was about to change the world forever. Soon, the Mongol Empire carried gunpowder across Asia. Wherever their armies marched, this incredible discovery traveled with them. Within just a few decades, the secret spread from China into the Middle East and eventually reached Europe. A new chapter in history had begun. European engineers looked at gunpowder differently. They weren't thinking about fireworks or fire lances. They were thinking about castles and the massive stone walls protecting them. Blacksmiths began building enormous bronze cannons, larger than anything the world had ever seen. These weren't weapons for soldiers. They were weapons for cities. Moving one of these giant cannons required dozens of workers, powerful oxen, and incredible planning. But once it reached the battlefield, everything changed. With a thunderous explosion, the cannon launched a massive stone ball toward towering fortress walls. The impact shook the ground itself. Walls that had protected kingdoms for centuries slowly cracked apart. Castles once thought impossible to conquer suddenly became vulnerable. One by one, ancient fortresses fell. The age of unstoppable stone walls was ending, and the age of gunpowder had truly begun. But giant cannons had one obvious weakness. They were far too heavy to carry. Soldiers needed the same destructive power in their own hands. So inventors began shrinking the cannon once again. The result was a portable hand cannon, a simple invention that would eventually evolve into every rifle, shotgun, and pistol we know today. The first hand cannons weren't easy to use. To fire one, a soldier had to hold the weapon with one hand and carefully touch a burning fuse to the powder with the other. At the exact moment the gun fired, the shooter wasn't even looking at the enemy. He was looking at the fuse. Accuracy was mostly a matter of luck. On the battlefield, smoke filled the air as soldiers fired in the general direction of their enemies, hoping at least one shot would find its target. Inventors knew there had to be a better way. So they created the matchlock, the world's first true trigger mechanism. Now, with a simple pull of a lever, the burning match dropped onto the powder automatically. For the first time, soldiers could hold the weapon with both hands and actually aim. But the matchlock had one major weakness. Rain, a wet match couldn't create fire, turning the gun into nothing more than a heavy stick. Night battles were just as dangerous. The glowing tip of every burning match gave away a soldier's position long before the enemy could be seen. Even worse, every soldier carried bags of gunpowder while holding an open flame just inches away. One careless mistake could end in disaster. Engineers searched for a solution that didn't rely on burning rope. Their answer was a brilliant new invention called the wheel lock. Instead of using fire, the wheel lock created sparks by spinning a steel wheel against a piece of pyrite, working almost like a modern cigarette lighter. It was faster, safer, and more reliable. But there was one problem. The complicated mechanism made every wheel lock extremely expensive. Only wealthy nobles and kings could afford one, while ordinary soldiers continued fighting with older weapons. Then came another breakthrough. A French gunsmith developed the Flintlock, a simpler design that was cheaper, stronger, and much easier to build. With one pull of the trigger, flint struck steel, creating a shower of sparks that ignited the powder almost instantly. It quickly became the standard firearm across the world. For the next 2 centuries, empires expanded, revolutions were fought, and history was rewritten with flintlock muskets in the hands of millions of soldiers. But even the flintlock had one serious weakness. After every shot, soldiers had to reload from the front of the barrel, a slow process that could take nearly 20 seconds. 20 seconds may not sound like much, until someone is charging toward you. On the battlefield, those few moments could mean the difference between life and death. That's why armies fought in long lines. While one row fired, the row behind them reloaded. It wasn't strange military strategy, it was survival. Then an unexpected inventor entered the story. His name was Alexander Forsyth, a Scottish church minister who loved hunting ducks more than designing weapons. Every time Forsyth pulled the trigger, the bright flash from his flintlock warned the ducks before the bullet arrived. The birds escaped again and again. Frustrated by this tiny delay, Forsyth searched for a better solution. His experiments led to a new chemical that exploded instantly when struck. This simple invention eliminated the exposed flash, worked even in wet weather, and made firearms faster and more reliable than ever before. Soon, inventors combined the primer, gunpowder, and bullet into one small brass cartridge. Everything a gun needed was now packed into a single piece of ammunition. Reloading became dramatically faster. Instead of pouring powder and pushing bullets down the barrel, soldiers simply inserted a new cartridge and fired again. That breakthrough led to repeating rifles, revolvers, and eventually the modern firearms we recognize today. More than 1,000 years of evolution had reached a new era. Looking back, the journey seems unbelievable. A failed search for eternal life became fireworks. Fireworks became weapons, and weapons changed the course of history. Every inventor solved just one small problem: stronger materials, better ignition, faster loading, Step by step, those small improvements transformed the world. Today, every modern gun still relies on the same basic principle discovered by accident in an ancient Chinese workshop over 12 centuries ago. The alchemists believed they were creating a medicine that could defeat death. Instead, they unknowingly created one of the most influential inventions in human history. The next time you hear a gunshot in a movie, a game, or real life, remember this: it all began with one unexpected explosion and one simple dream of living forever.